In this world, the heavy armored swordsman is recognized as a defense-focused class, whose main role is to draw enemy attention to himself and thus protect the party's allies. However, when compared to other defensive classes, he shows little versatility and cannot easily adapt to different situations. His greatest and most serious weakness is his extremely low offensive power, which makes his development and training slow and quite complicated. Because of these clear limitations, heavy armored swordsmen have become increasingly ignored and looked down upon by society in general. The class has come to be seen as incomplete, almost like a flawed profession that brings misfortune and disadvantage to anyone unlucky enough to receive it. However, the protagonist Elma experiences this reality in a completely different way. His path of evolution always seems connected to a strange sense of familiarity. Whenever Elma learns something new or witnesses events in this world, he has the vague impression that he has already seen or lived through it before, as if memories from another existence are slowly beginning to awaken within his mind. This subtly suggests the emergence of memories from a past life. Intense conflicts and battles of grand proportions arise with completely unexpected frequency in this world. In such situations, Elma Ma is almost always forced to fight alone against his enemies, plunging into confrontations that constantly push him to the absolute limit between life and death. The pressure of these fights comes not only from high-level monstrous creatures, but also from equally dangerous human opponents, such as extremely skilled mages and experienced swordsmen who master refined combat techniques. Even so, regardless of the type of ability, strategy, or magic his enemies use, Elma's shield remains unshakable. In no situation is it ever truly broken or overcome, as if there were an impossible barrier surrounding his defense. Still, despite this seemingly abnormal advantage, Elma cannot understand the origin of the images that continue to appear in his mind. They are disconnected fragments, brief flashes of memories that do not belong to his present, like scattered pieces of something much larger that he still cannot fully perceive. Amid this turmoil of conflicts and doubts, the sacred blessing ceremony for the heir of the Idar family finally takes place officially. It is precisely during this ritual, at the moment he is supposed to simply receive his blessing, that all of his past life memories fully awaken within Elma. The revelation strikes him overwhelmingly, leaving him in shock as he realizes that the world he lives in is exactly identical to the virtual reality game called Magical World, which he obsessively played in his previous life. His initial excitement reaches extreme levels when the system grants him the profession of heavy armored swordsman. In the original game, this was a class he always considered not only the strongest in terms of defense, but also one of the most unconventional, capable of withstanding virtually any situation when properly developed. However, this intense joy does not last long, quickly being shattered by his father's explosive reaction. The family patriarch is immediately shocked and soon after is consumed by uncontrollable rage upon discovering that his heir has received a profession considered useless in the eyes of nobility and local tradition. With this rigid and inflexible reaction, Elma begins to understand that the strategic mindset of that world is extremely outdated and limited. Even while calmly trying to explain that the heavy armored swordsman possesses superior defense, endurance, and survivability attributes, Elma is completely ignored. His father accepts no argument. Consumed by anger and shame, he even goes so far as to punch Elma in the face, treating that profession as an unforgivable stain on the family's honor, something that must be hidden at all costs to preserve the prestige of the Edirv. The heavy and suffocating atmosphere of the ceremony is unexpectedly changed by the arrival of Molly's, a beautiful young woman from a secondary branch of the Edirvan family. Although she had once been Elma's childhood friend, they were separated for many years due to the strict status differences within the family itself. Ignoring all judgmental stares, comments, and contemptuous whispers around her, Molly steps forward with determination and courage, asking to undergo the blessing ritual. even while still immersed in discomfort and disappointment caused by recent events. The head of the Edervin family finally authorizes the start of the ritual. Everything proceeds without any apparent issues, and Elma's negative feeling is confirmed at the moment the system announces Molly's received profession. She obtains the Sacred Sword class, an extremely respected, rare profession fully oriented toward offense. Molly's does not hide her overwhelming confidence and even subtly provokes Elma, as if she had absorbed all the talent and potential he might have had. Elma, in turn, remains completely silent. His expression becomes more serious and concerned, as he fears that the sudden rise of someone from a secondary branch will only further increase his father's anger and pressure against him. In contrast, the head of the Edervin family immediately shows satisfaction with Molly's result, completely ignoring the family's internal traditions and hierarchies. He makes a shocking decision and immediately adopts her as the official heir. Taking advantage of this sudden change of circumstances, Molly's reinforces her new adoptive father's words and further belittles Elma, stating with absolute conviction that he would never have the ability to take on such important responsibilities. This abrupt change of leadership shocks everyone present, but also makes clear the cruel and merciless logic of that world, where only strength and practical usefulness are truly valued. The most devastating moment occurs when Elma's own father coldly and definitively rejects him, as if he had never belonged to that family. He considers the heavy armored swordsman class an unforgivable disgrace to the Edervin lineage and orders Elma's immediate expulsion from the mansion without any hesitation. Even in the face of Elma Ma's desperate pleas and his sincere attempts to explain the true potential of that class, the patriarch does not back down from his decision and rejects everything with even greater emotional violence. As if that were not enough, he also threatens Elma with death if he ever tries to pose as a member of the family again, or use the Edervin name under any circumstance, completely and irreversibly severing all blood ties. That very same day, under a strong and constant rain that seemed to mirror the weight of his expulsion, only the old butler says goodbye to Elma in silence, handing him a small amount of his savings as a final gesture of kindness. From the mansion, Molly's watches the entire scene with a cold smile full of superiority. From that moment on, Elma's true journey as a heavy armored swordsman truly begins a path far harsher, lonelier, and more unpredictable than he could ever have imagined. After losing all his titles, Elma is placed in a horse-drawn carriage and taken to an unfamiliar house, officially beginning his solitary life as an outcast. In contrast to his former comfortable life, the outside world is loud, hostile, and clearly reveals all its harshness. Even after losing his family, his status, and facing society's prejudice, Elma does not despair. He maintains firm confidence because he knows a secret that no one else does. The heavy armored swordsman is, in fact, the most powerful class of all. Realizing that this world has several historical and geographical differences compared to the game he once knew, Elma carefully opens his status screen to confirm whether his class system remains the same. With 5 initial skill points, he finds various random options such as enhanced defense and basic swordsmanship. However, using his strategic experience, he ignores the safer options and invests all of his points into the fixed skill tree of the Heavy Armor Oath, which is usually considered useless and difficult to master. This bold choice pays off immediately, advancing the tree to level 5 and unlocking the Fortress counterattack skill, while also greatly increasing his defense and creating a solid foundation for future growth. After that, Elma acquires the specific equipment for his class and begins exploring the world cautiously, staying calm but aware that he must grow stronger quickly. Without wasting time, he decides to enter combat to test his abilities for the first time. His first opponent is Arana, a monster classified as Exorcist level. Elma handles the situation calmly and activates his barrier counterattack skill, which converts defense into damage whenever he successfully nullifies an enemy attack. The result is immediate and impressive. With just a single successful impact, the monster is instantly defeated. With that, Elma obtains a level 2 magic stone, a small reward, but an important milestone at the beginning of his journey. Elma hears someone else shouting for help. He runs toward the voice and soon finds an adventurer being pursued. Upon arriving at the scene, he realizes that the forest is completely overrun with a huge number of frogs. Faced with that situation, Elma states that he will handle it. The adventurer, who had been desperately running for his life, asks whether Elma truly believes he can face all those monsters. For a moment, he even thinks Elma is simply overconfident. However, Elma replies that he is not. He admits that he had just leveled up for the first time in his entire life. Upon hearing this, all hope vanishes from the adventurer, since how could he trust his life to someone even weaker than himself? In his mind, it seemed impossible for a beginner to defeat such a large number of monsters. Not even heavy armor would be enough to protect him from so many enemies at once. So he insists that the best option is to flee while there is still a chance. Even in the face of the adventurer's insistence, Elma remains completely calm. He explains that barrier counterattack is far from a perfect skill. As previously stated, the damage dealt by the barrier when blocking an attack corresponds to the user's own defense points. This means his defense must be higher than the enemy's offensive power for the skill to function properly. Otherwise, the effect will not activate, leaving the user completely vulnerable to attacks. Still, the adventurer continues urging Elma to run immediately. However, before either of them can escape, all the creatures rush forward at once and launch their attacks against him. Elma comments that barrier counterattack can indeed become useless and extremely dangerous against very strong opponents or unknown monsters. However, since he was reborn inside the game, he knows each one of those creatures perfectly. Thanks to that knowledge, everything unfolds exactly as he expected. The barrier counterattack completely blocks the attacks from the swarm of frogs, defeating each one in sequence, leaving the adventurer completely shocked. Unable to believe what he has just witnessed, he asks how Elma was able to defeat so many frogs and who he really is. Elma begins by answering only his first name, but stops before revealing his surname, immediately remembering the threat that his head would be cut off if he ever mentioned it. Thus, he simply replies firmly that his name is Elma. After defeating every monster that appeared along the way, Elma finally reaches level 8. As a reward for leveling up, he earns the title Unshakable. After checking his status again, he realizes it's probably safe to believe that this world's system works the same way as the one in Magic Worlds. At that moment, the other boy introduces himself. His name is Eris. He explains that he left his peaceful little village to become an adventurer, only to discover that no one would trust him until he reached level 3 on his own. Because of that, he fell into despair, unable to find a single party willing to accept him. Eris thanks Elma for saving his life. He says he'd like to do something to repay him, but Elma replies that there's no need to worry about it. To him, everything worked out perfectly because it gave him a great opportunity to level up. Even so, he decides to keep the magic stones dropped by the monsters. Then Eris asks if the two of them could form an adventuring party together. He believes it would benefit both of them. After all, he assumes Elma is also struggling to find work on his own, especially since defense-focused classes usually aren't the most popular among adventurers. Hearing that, Elma can't help but remember the cruel words his own father once said about his class. In front of everyone, he had been called useless and worthless. Even when he tried to explain that his class had the highest HP and defense, his father insisted that none of it mattered. Returning to the conversation, Eris tells Elma that he thinks he's an incredible person. He promises he'll make others change the way they see that class as well. However, Elma declines the offer. Eris asks why he won't accept his proposal. Elma explains that if he follows that path, he'll never grow the way he wants on his own. Even so, he admits that Eris's reasoning makes sense. Normally, defensive classes can only show their true potential by drawing enemy attacks and protecting their teammates. However, if Elma started traveling with a party, he would have to split the experience among everyone. That would go completely against the way he plans to level up. On top of that, Elma has other goals. He wants to obtain new equipment, learn different skills, and earn many titles throughout his journey. He doesn't know if anyone would believe everything he says, but he also doesn't have time to waste standing around. There's still a long way to go before he can become a truly powerful heavy knight. After the two of them leave the area, Eris keeps trying to convince Elma to form a party with him. He admits that Elma's method is truly impressive, but believes that this way of growing has its limits and won't work forever. Suddenly, as they continue walking, they hear a strange sound coming from nearby. Little by little, the atmosphere grows heavier, and both of them realize that something is probably hiding among the trees. Then, a gigantic spider appears before them. Eris is completely shocked, unable to understand why a creature like that is in a place like this. Meanwhile, Elma checks the monster's status and notices something terrifying. The creature is level 16. It is an Ariandype, a monster whose level is exactly twice Elma's current level. He realizes it managed to stay hidden the entire time by using its sliding steps skill. On top of that, the Ariandype has a poison that inflicts slow and also possesses the flaming claw skill. Elma's wall reflection ability is practically useless against enemies that are much stronger than him. For it to activate, his defense has to be at least twice as high as the incoming attack. Otherwise, the skill simply doesn't work. If Elma were hit directly by the Ariandype's flaming claw, he would most likely be defeated in a single strike. Eris realizes this situation happened because of him and decides to take responsibility. He says he'll keep the beast busy while Elma escapes. However, Elma tells him there's no reason to worry and asks him to leave this battle to him. He knows defeating the creature isn't impossible. Eris warns him once again, saying that a beginner adventurer doesn't stand a chance against an Ariandype. But after checking his status, Elma realizes he still has 7 skill points he earned earlier. Without wasting a second, he invests all of them into Heavy Armor Oath. By unlocking the Disarm skill, his strength increases even further. This skill temporarily lowers an enemy's attack whenever he successfully lands a hit. More specifically, it reduces the target's attack by 20% for 1 minute. Elma knows he'll need that skill to defeat the Ariandype. He barely avoids the creature's first attack, but he's thrilled to finally be facing a monster of this level. The giant spider rushes at him with incredible speed, attacking relentlessly without leaving any openings. Elma blocks every strike as carefully as he can, making sure not to take a direct hit. Then the Ariandype starts preparing another fire attack. Seeing the perfect opportunity, Elma deliberately chooses to take the hit. He knows he has to take that risk to activate Disarm and reduce the monster's attack. The attack doesn't deal much damage, but Elma realizes the attack reduction has most likely been applied. When the Ariandype tries to use its fire attack again, he dodges and quickly closes the distance. During the battle, Elma is pleased to discover that the beast's poison attack consumes 7 MP, while Flaming Claw only uses 5 MP. Taking advantage of that information, he activates Disarm again and successfully applies the effect a second time. As a result, the Ariandype's attack is reduced by a total of 40%. On top of that, the unshakable title Elma earned increases his defense by 10%, narrowing the gap between them even further. To Elma, that battle proves that differences in level and abilities can be overcome with knowledge and the right strategy. He attacks the beast to draw its attention and starts running away. After creating a safe distance, Elma quickly turns around and activates his wall skill, preparing a finishing blow capable of ending the battle in a single hit. A short time later, he defeats the Ariandype and receives a huge reward for his victory. His level rises to 12, and he also earns 4 skill points that he can spend however he wants. However, when he tries to invest those points into heavy armor, he realizes he can't do so at that moment. Meanwhile, Eris is still amazed by everything he just witnessed. He asks who Elma really is, and says he's now convinced that Elma can truly grow stronger on his own. As far as Eris is concerned, there was never any reason to worry about him. Suddenly, Elma begins to feel sick because the poison effect is still active in his body. Realizing what's happening, Eris decides to escort him back to the city to make sure he gets home safely. After dropping Elma off at his house, Eris says goodbye, telling him they're sure to meet again. Once inside, Elma heads straight to bed without wasting any time. But while resting, he can't stop remembering the harsh words his father said before throwing him out of the house. Those memories wake him up once again. The following day, after defeating the Ariandype, Elma finally heads to the Rondalm Adventurers Guild to officially register as an adventurer. When he arrives, he introduces himself and begins the registration process. However, as soon as the people there notice his class, They all start looking at him with contempt. Many of the adventurers laugh after learning that he's just a heavy knight. To them, that class has no future. Despite everyone's reaction, the receptionist continues the registration as usual. After signing the necessary paperwork, Elma is officially assigned rank F, the starting rank for adventurers. Even though it's the lowest rank, he's happy to finally be recognized as an official adventurer. In this world, there are 7 different adventurer ranks. In addition, entering a dungeon requires a party to have at least 1 rank E adventurer. Elma also learns that his rank directly affects how many skill points he can invest in Heavy Armor Oath. Because of that, he knows he has to reach rank E as quickly as possible. Elma then asks if there are any adventuring parties looking for new members. The receptionist tells him there aren't any openings at the moment. Before leaving, however, Elma hands her a bag filled with magic stones. He explains that he wants to exchange all of them for money. His magic bag allows him to store a large number of items, making it much easier to carry everything he collected. When everyone sees how many magic stones Elma brought back, they're stunned. After all, he gathered all of them by himself without relying on any other adventurer. Elma explains that he completed everything on his own and included all the details in his mission report. As a result, many people begin wondering what is really going on with that young man. Even so, plenty of them still believe he must be cheating somehow. Before long, Elma finishes his registration and now has enough money to cover his expenses during his journey. But what happens next gets the Magic World's player inside Elma completely excited. He asks the receptionist if there's a promotion quest available that he can complete to raise his rank. She tells him there is. The scene then shifts to a group of adventurers gathered at a cemetery near the city. One of the men comments that some strange clown decided to join the raid quest. According to him, that adventurer is probably Elma. The man explains that many beginners make the mistake of underestimating guilds and monsters, believing that being an adventurer is easy. He then asks if Elma really defeated an Ariandite by himself. Before Elma can answer, another adventurer tells him to stop talking nonsense. He explains that an adventurer's life isn't nearly as easy as Elma seems to think. Determined to show him reality, he decides to teach the young adventurer a lesson. And that's how episode 2 comes to an end. If you made it this far, comment rank F. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you next week with more of this anime. Bye. Elma quickly realizes that the situation is much worse than he expected. Taking part in a raid mission is a rare opportunity to increase his rank, and he knows he cannot waste such an important chance. Because of that, he lowers his head and asks everyone to try working together during the mission. However, his attitude does not please the man, who simply calls Teal so the expedition can finally begin. Without wasting any time, Elma draws his sword and activates the search skill. It is explained that this ability allows him to detect nearby creatures, making it a very rare skill among low-level adventurers. Shortly after, he senses the enemies and reports that there is a horde of around 30 monsters. Gauton praises his ability, but Elmer replies that he was lucky enough to obtain such an excellent skill and hopes it will be enough to earn his promotion to rank E. Teal begins mocking the protagonist. To him, Elma has always been strange, and his unusual behavior has led to several rumors within the guild. While looking at the boy's equipment, he concludes that Elma must belong to the Red Mage class. This class has great physical abilities and can also learn offensive spells, healing magic, and a wide variety of support spells. Even so, Teal says he feels sorry for Elma for being stuck with the worst class that exists. The boy thanks him for his concern, but replies that he really likes the class he received. Teal believes he is only trying to act strong and says it would be better if he stayed out of the way and did not interfere with the rest of the group. Elma knows very well that the Red Mage is considered one of the hardest classes to master. At first glance, it seems capable of doing everything. But in the game, it was known as a class that could perform many roles without truly standing out in any of them. However, that world was not a game. Even so, it was natural that most people would prefer choosing easier classes to use. Meanwhile, Gauton decides to evaluate the entire situation before taking action. The huge undead horde is being led by a ghoul head. Since he is a rank D adventurer, He believes he can defeat the leader alone. He then orders everyone to keep their distance and only deal with the weaker monsters. He also makes it clear that he will not protect anyone who interferes in his battle. After hearing this, everyone becomes uneasy because they expected a completely different strategy. Elma remembers that a ghoul head is usually around level 30. Although it does not have many dangerous direct attacks, its Hades breath ability is a major problem because it can turn corpses into low-level specters. Even so, Gauten is a rank D adventurer around level 40. If everything goes as expected, he should be able to win the fight. Looking at the people around him, Elma realizes the situation is not encouraging at all. Some adventurers are overwhelmed by fear, while others show excessive confidence. There are also beginners who imagine that joining a raid would be simple, along with a careless leader who barely worries about his own group. From Elma's perspective, their chances of survival are around 80%. In a game, that would be an acceptable rate. But in that world, dying meant much more than just receiving a penalty. Concerned about everything, Elma asks Gauten if he should provide more detailed instructions to the group. The man, not understanding what he means, asks him to repeat what he said. Elma explains that the report about the undead horde might not be completely accurate and warns that it could be too late if they only act after the worst happens. Everyone is surprised to see an adventurer like Elma giving suggestions to Gauten. The man immediately reacts. Angry, he asks who Elma thinks he is to speak that way and tell him how he should lead the mission. The boy quickly explains that he is not trying to give orders. He only feels insecure because he is still a weak adventurer without enough experience. Then he lowers his head again and asks the man for help. Gauten says he is not anyone's babysitter, but despite complaining, he agrees to explain how he plans to handle the battle. At that moment, Teal approaches and says that only unlucky people like Elma would be afraid of such weak undead. He also mocks him, saying he never expected the boy to almost cry in front of Gauten before the fight had even started. Although almost everyone is nervous as well, nobody has the courage to respond. Right after that, Teal says he does not need to hear any instructions. According to him, cowards should simply get out of the way and run to the back lines. Meanwhile, Elma notices that the undead are finally appearing in front of them. The moment he sees the monsters, even Teal becomes frightened. Without hesitation, Elma draws his weapon and prepares to face the creatures. While Teal remains frozen in fear, Gauten notices the movement and asks what Elma is doing. He then orders Teal and Paul to clear a path so he can face the leader of the horde. While observing the enemy, Elma notices that the weapon carried by the monster does not seem to have any special characteristics. Because of that, he believes they might still be able to handle the situation. Then, Elma turns to the rest of the group and warns that everyone will need to fight the followers of the giant-headed monster. The news makes the adventurers even more nervous since none of them have ever faced creatures like these before. They know the enemies might only be ordinary specters, but they also understand that if they end up surrounded, escaping from the battle will become extremely difficult. Everyone expected Gauten to support the rest of the group, but he keeps all his attention focused on the leader of the horde. As Elma watches the situation, he understands exactly what is happening. It is not difficult to see why everyone looks so discouraged. This is the first time they have faced a horde of this size. To make matters worse, they are undead creatures with terrifying appearances, and nobody received clear instructions on how to act. Elma completely understands why everyone is so afraid. Without wasting any time, Elma asks everyone to pay close attention to what he is about to say. He then tells them to form teams of 3 people. He explains that if they stay together and protect each other, those specters will not be able to defeat them easily. The adventurers agree with the idea, but ask what he plans to do during the fight. Elma answers that he will stay on the front line and draw the undead toward him. At that moment, some monsters appear behind him. Even so, Elma blocks every attack without showing any difficulty. Right after that, he disarms each enemy and delivers the final blow, defeating all 3 at once. Shortly after, more undead appear. Using his shield wall, he manages to eliminate several of them with incredible ease. With surprising calmness, he simply tells everyone not to worry. He explains that the main role of a heavy knight is exactly to attract large groups of enemies and keep the monsters' attention focused on themselves. He also says that if anything unexpected happens, he wants to be informed immediately so he can help the rest of the team. While speaking, Elma continues defeating one undead after another as if he were fighting extremely weak opponents. The adventurers watch him in amazement at the level of skill he is showing. After defeating so many enemies, Elma finally reaches level 16. When checking his progress, he notices that his parry skill is working even better than he expected. Fighting such a large number of monsters at that